Yeah, we get intro to there's a Nurse Joy that's missing, and then there's actually there's a whole thing with
The island, right?
Well, I think before that we really see Mewtwo. Like Mewtwo gets introduced before that battle though.
Yes,
because he comes out of he has the memories of Mew floating around in the forest and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So he has some of Mew's memories, but he wakes up in a capsule with a bunch of people just talking about him, and he's hearing them talk about him and stuff like that. And then he kind of blows up the whole facility where he was created. Mm-hmm. And then Giovanni shows up in the midst of all the Team Rocket's leader, shows up in the midst of. You want to get up?
You want to come up here?
And
come up.
And he talks to Mewtwo and says, "Hey, like, you know," Mewtwo is like, "What's my purpose?" He's like, "I will tell you your purpose, but I can help you control your powers first." And there's cool scenes of him as Giovanni, the gym leader, like using Mewtwo in gym battles, and one of them is he fights Gary, and Mewtwo just owns the heck out of him. And then after a while, Giovanni's like, "Yeah, you were made to serve me," and he's like, "Yeah, I'm not doing that." And he just
destroys the place.
Yeah, destroys the place,
wrecks it,
and then flies up into space, deleting all of the mechanical stuff they had on him. And then we get this mysterious trainer that is the best in the world and starts inviting elite trainers to
funky new place.
Yeah, to his place to fight. And so then that's when we get to that scene with Ash where he's battling that random trainer.
Yeah,
and Dragonite's flying across the ocean at crazy fast speeds to give the invitation to Ash.
Yeah.
And we don't know who this mysterious number one trainer is at this point.
And Misty and Brock also get one. And then when they get there, Mewtwo creates a storm and causes the boats on the wharf to be closed off for safety. I mean, and so they get picked up by a Viking boat, which is just Team Rocket.
Oh, yeah. Team Rocket. I love Team Rocket. Love Giovanni. But so that I think tells us that Mewtwo is pretty strong if he can control the weather.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's stuff that like Kyogre and Groudon and Rayquaza do. They do that kind of stuff. And Lugia as well. I think doesn't Lugia control the oceans as well?
Yes.
So
because Lugia is the sea and Ho-Oh is the sky.
And then Kyogre is also the sea.
Yes.
And Groudon is the land.
I think Lugia and Ho are actually both like
stronger.
The sky.
Lugia is one of the coolest Pokemon ever created, in my opinion. But yeah. So, anyways, that's not Gen 1.
That's Gen 2.
Yeah, that's Gen 2.
That's a different one.
Yeah. So Mewtwo creates a storm, and it's really a test. Mm-hmm. So all the trainers show up at the place at a port to go to the island. Mm-hmm. Mewtwo creates the storm as a test to see who really can make it. And there's like 4 or 5, I want to say, that make it. That they just ride their Pokemon over to the island and they show up. They're like, "Yeah, we're gonna go anyways, even though it's not safe."
But Team Rocket saves our trio.
Yeah,
and gets them across.
Yes, well, partway, and then they ride their Pokemon.
Yeah.
Ash on his Squirtle, Brock is hanging on to Misty's Staryu.
And when they get to the island, they get greeted by the woman from the hologram, which is a brainwashed Nurse Joy.
Yeah, definitely being controlled by Mewtwo. So they all show up, and some of the trainers are talking big. They're like, "Oh yeah, man, I'm so great." And Mewtwo finally shows up, just ascends from the roof or the top of the tower or wherever into the midst, and is like, the greatest Pokemon trainer is also the strongest Pokemon in the world. And they're like, "What? I don't buy that. You can't." That one guy's like, "That's a technicality. You can't be a Pokemon and a Pokemon trainer. Attack!"
So but he does anyway.
Yeah, he starts attacking him very foolishly because Mewtwo just makes him aware of his place in the world. Yeah, which is below Mewtwo. And he destroys his Pokemon.
Well, the other thing is that Mewtwo wants to clone the strongest Pokemon.
Yeah, so he's assuming that these strong trainers that he has are going to bring their strong Pokemon. Yeah. And so all the Pokemon, all the trainers have the Pokemon out, And Mewtwo definitely gets a hold of this, and he clones all the Pokemon that are there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Including Meowth and Pikachu.
Meowth and Pikachu for some very heartfelt scenes later on.
Yeah.
And so...
And then Mew shows up for the first time, and Mewtwo's like, I want to fight you next.
Yeah. Yeah, because he's under the impression that because he was made from you, but he was superior to Mew.
Right.
Which I think just more
because
reality,
he's a better version of
supposedly,
Mew.
right?
Allegedly.
But I think in reality he's just
everyone knows the sequel is always better.
Yeah, he's the same. I think they're of similar power. Yeah. I mean, we don't ever see either one of them getting advantage over the other one. One of them is doing a lot of attacks, and the other one is not getting hit by any of those attacks.
Mew is such a little sassy cat.
Yeah, I mean, he just teleports everywhere. He's just super cool and cute.
Super chill.
Yeah, but also very strong when he does launch attacks.
And very sassy.
Yeah, very similar in power to Mewtwo. So, then, Mew shows up, and Mewtwo's trying to prove that he is actually better than the Pokemon that he was created or cloned from. He wanted to prove that clones are stronger than the originals.
Yes.
Because, that's his shtick.
Yes.
That's his arc.
Oh, and then all of the clones are fighting the originals of themselves.
Yeah, because then he throws the tournament. He's like, all right, my clone Pokemon versus your regular Pokemon. Yeah. Let's see which ones are better.
And it's an exact even match. Surprise.
Surprisingly. Which is just the same as him versus Mew. It's an even match.
Yeah.
But what we do see is we see Pikachu really taking a stand, saying like
they're both like crying. Ash's Pikachu is just getting slapped by the other Pikachu.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not gonna fight you, bro. Like you're me, and I'm you, and we are each other. He literally says that to him.
Yes, he does.
And then
with Patrick Stewart's voice.
Yes. And then of course his clone, also voiced by Christopher Walken, actually.
So I will not hit you, my brother Pikachu.
But actually, he's so clone Pikachu's like really beating up on Ash's Pikachu, but only because Ash's Pikachu was letting him.
Yes.
He's taking a stand. He's saying, no, this unnecessary violence, I will not be a part of it.
And Ash, in an effort to try to stop everything, puts himself between a blast between Mew and Mewtwo.
Not his smartest move.
No.
And he gets
turned into stone.
Surprisingly, instead of being immediately vaporized.
Yeah.
But so probably not his smartest move, but Ash definitely basically again, just like Pikachu is like, no, I
don't like this. This isn't what it's about.
Pokemon battles are one thing.
Yeah.
But just to fight, just to prove something, I'm not going to do that. I am not going to do that. I'm not going to be a part of your game, Mewtwo.
So Ash is a rock. It stops all the fighting, basically, like right there.
Yeah, because the
just Pokemon never really attack people. Sort of. It happens every once in a while, but
Well, I mean, Team
Rocket, but not like that
usually
crazy.
Attacks people with Pokemon,
right?
But normally, Pokemon and humans, they kind of attack each other.
And Pikachu is distraught and tries to bring him back to life with his electricity.
And the thing is, they start the movie with this legend.
Yeah.
Of Pokemon tears reviving a person.
Yeah.
And so they set it up early on.
They did, but it's also it's so loosely based.
Yeah.
It's such a heartbreaking scene at the same time.
It actually is. It still pulls. It still feels like a very.
It's one of those it's one of those testaments to how powerful a soundtrack is to a movie.
Yeah.
When there isn't one sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. And they used it well.
Yeah, it was so good. Such a real moment for any kid watching that movie. Where you're like, oh my God, is he dead?
And this was our role model.
Crazy.
This was somebody who stood up and was right.
Both of them.
Yeah.
They're just victims in this.
Ash Pikachu? You're talking about? Yeah. Yeah, Mewtwo's just trying to find his way in the world like many of us do. He makes some wrong choices, but his actions caused... So here's something that you can take from this movie is that the things that you do rarely just affect you. It affects the people around you, people that you love, and sometimes even people you don't know. For better or for worse.
Let me see if I can find the actual quote.
But yeah, so Ash bravely but stupidly jumps in between Mew and Mewtwo's attacks. And instead, like I said, instead of him getting vaporized because it's a kid's show, he just turns into stone. Pikachu gets distraught. He's like, because if you know Ash and Pikachu's origin story, like they didn't start out as friends. Pikachu hated Ash, and would shock him all the time. So I guess animals do attack humans.
It was Pokemon. It was a real enemies to lovers scenario
in the first episode because again, Ash showed that he really cared for Pikachu. He saved Pikachu from the attacks of all those Spearow, I think it was.
Yeah.
And when they kept attacking him, Pikachu was like, "Nah, okay, this is my boy." He's like, "I got you." And then he gained, I don't know, probably 1,000,000 XP from defeating all of those Spearows.
All the time. Yeah.
I mean, he jumped from level 5 to like level friggin', probably 50.
45.
Yeah, close to that.
And then Pikachu's tears bring Ash back to life, and Mewtwo hits a really hard line that comes out of nowhere, which is, "I see now that the circumstances of one's birth are irrelevant. It is what you do with the gift of life that determines who you are."
Sheesh.
What a quote.
Yeah, I know. From one of the smartest and most powerful Pokemon, apparently.
Yeah. And then he turns into a good guy, and they do a big Bollywood dance number.
Yeah, dude, I forgot about that part.
Hey. You look good over there.
Look real good.
Have you thought about sharing your kindness with others?
Share the love.
Maybe like the video. Click on that subscribe button. And show your friends.
Yeah, just touch it ever so lightly, that like button. Move over to the subscribe button. Maybe tap your keyboard just a little bit. Leave a comment. Bye.
That's it.